5 dark psychology tricks that always work. Silence, power, and total domination. Modern Stoic. They don't see you coming, not because you're weak, but because you're silent. In this world, the loudest man is often the most desperate, but the man who sits back, listens, and observes, he's the one pulling the strings. Welcome to a new level of power, a power rooted not in noise, but in presence. In this video from Blessing of Stoicism, we reveal 5 dark psychology tricks that always work, tricks forged in silence, sharpened by emotional control, and mastered by men who no longer play the game, because they are the game. Whether it's in love, leadership, or life, dominance doesn't come from chaos. It comes from knowing exactly when to speak, and when to say absolutely nothing. As the great Lao Tzu once said, "He who conquers others is strong. He who conquers himself is mighty." Now it's your turn to become unshakable, unreadable, and unstoppable. Watch closely, because what you're about to learn, most men never figure out. 1. Future faking. Future faking is not just a manipulation tactic. It's a psychological trap that exploits your most noble instinct, your hope for a better future. And if you are a man between the ages of 35 and 70, a man who has built his life on responsibility, loyalty, and vision, then this message is especially for you, because manipulators target those with deep emotional depth, not the shallow. Future faking is when someone crafts a false future in your mind, promises of love, partnership, success, or a grand tomorrow, not because they intend to deliver it, but because they want to control your actions today. It sounds like, "I want to grow old with you," or "We'll retire in the countryside together," or "We're almost there, just a little more patience." And they know exactly what to say to make you stay, make you loyal, make you endure. The ancient Stoics warned us about this, about getting attached to what might be instead of what is. Epictetus once said, "It is not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." The manipulator hopes you don't react, that you simply wait in obedience while they quietly take from you your time, your effort, your energy, and your emotional investment. What makes this tactic especially cruel is that it does not bind you with chains. It binds you with dreams, and a dream can be harder to break than steel. In a romantic relationship, she may talk about marriage, a home, children, or a life of luxury with you, not because she sees it, but because she knows you do. In business, a manipulative partner might say, "We're this close to landing that big deal," just to keep you working overtime, sacrificing weekends, and pouring in effort with no intention of ever sharing the reward. In friendships, someone might say, "We'll make things right," or "Trust me, next time I've got you," or to pacify your rightful anger or disappointment. The pattern is always the same: keep you emotionally hooked with empty visions while consistently under-delivering in the present. Modern Stoicism teaches you to judge reality not by words, but by results. Actions are truth. Everything else is noise. Marcus Aurelius, the great emperor-philosopher, wrote, "If someone can prove me wrong and show me my mistake in any thought or action, I shall gladly change. I seek the truth, which never harmed anyone. The harm is to persist in one's self-deception and ignorance." And yet, that's exactly what future faking causes: a man to persist in self-deception, waiting on a future that was never meant to come. So what should a Stoic man do when he sees through this illusion? He does not beg for honesty. He does not rage. He simply sees. And once he sees, he adjusts. He detaches. He reclaims his time, his mind, and his masculine authority. You must understand this. Power is not in controlling others. It's in controlling your response to them. A man who stands firmly in the present cannot be pulled around by false futures. Instead of asking, "What if?" he asks, "What is?" He studies patterns, he watches for proof, and he builds his life only with those who show up, not just speak up. In this modern world, where manipulation often hides behind smiles and sweet words, silence becomes a weapon. Observation becomes a shield, and discernment becomes your guide. So I ask you directly, have you ever looked back and realized that someone kept you trapped, not with force, but with fantasy? How long did you wait? And more importantly, what did it cost you? This is your moment to rise above illusions. Comment below and share your experience. You never know who you might help, because every time a man wakes up from the grip of future faking, he not only saves himself, he becomes a light for others. And remember this, promises are cheap, action is currency, and the Stoic man never pays with his soul. 2. Playing the victim. Playing the victim is one of the oldest yet most dangerous dark psychology tricks in the manipulator's arsenal. And if you're a man navigating life between the ages of 35 and 70, you've likely encountered it without even realizing it. It's the subtle art of turning weakness into power, sorrow into a sword, and guilt into a leash. A person who plays the victim doesn't need to raise their voice, threaten, or dominate through force. They simply reshape the story so that they are always the one who's been wronged, mistreated, or misunderstood. And in doing so, they gain the most powerful weapon of all, your emotional sympathy. In modern Stoicism, where calm, control, and emotional mastery are core virtues, recognizing this tactic is essential because it directly targets your sense of justice and compassion. The manipulator who plays the victim will tell stories, sometimes exaggerated, sometimes entirely fabricated, about how others have let them down, betrayed them, or abused their trust. And if you're not careful, your instinct to protect or defend them becomes the very chain they use to keep you close. Marcus Aurelius once said, "If someone is able to show me that what I think or do is not right, I will happily change, for I seek the truth." But here's the problem. The victim player doesn't seek truth, they seek control. They don't want correction, they want compliance. You see, in emotionally charged environments, especially within relationships, family matters, or even at work, the man who appears strong, rational, or emotionally detached can be portrayed as cold or cruel when faced with someone playing the victim. And this is where the trap is laid. When someone cries not from real pain but for strategic influence, it activates a psychological response rooted in empathy. You begin to feel guilt, shame, or even a sense of duty to fix what they claim is broken, even if it never was. This method is effective because it clouds your judgment, making it harder to see the manipulation through the emotional fog. It's especially potent in romantic or family dynamics, where love, loyalty, and guilt become deeply entangled. The moment you try to step back, assert boundaries, or express skepticism, you're met with accusations of heartlessness, abandonment, or being unfair, none of which are based on reality, but all of which are designed to keep you hooked. To recognize and defend against this manipulation, you must first be brutally honest with yourself about the nature of the emotional exchanges you're involved in. Ask yourself, is this person always the one being wronged, no matter the situation? Do I constantly feel like I'm walking on eggshells around their emotions? Do I feel obligated rather than inspired to be there for them? These are not random emotions. They are signs of psychological conditioning. It's the same as placing a frog in water and slowly turning up the heat. You won't notice the manipulation until it's boiling. But the modern Stoic man is not a boiling frog. He is the observer of patterns, not a prisoner of reactions. As Epictetus taught, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. That includes recognizing when someone is manufacturing their own misfortunes to gain control over your time, energy, or decisions. And this tactic doesn't just show up in romantic relationships. It exists in workplaces where colleagues avoid accountability by blaming invisible enemies or systemic unfairness. In friendships where one person always seems to be a magnet for drama and crisis, or in families where the same relative guilt trips others for not doing enough, despite always portraying themselves as the one who sacrificed everything. But here's a truth every Stoic man must remember. Real victims don't weaponize their pain. They seek healing, not control. They want understanding, not dominance. When you notice a person using their wounds as a way to silence your logic, manipulate your actions, or guilt you into submission, you are no longer dealing with pain. You are dealing with strategy. So what do you do when you recognize this? You maintain your calm, detach from the emotional bait, and reassert your frame. Do not argue emotionally, state facts. Do not try to rescue, offer reasonable support, then pull back. Do not internalize guilt that is not yours. Remind yourself, their story is not my burden unless I choose to carry it. This is the Stoic path: clear vision, steady heart, and unshakable presence. Remember the words of Seneca: "He who is brave is free," and freedom begins with recognizing the chains disguised as compassion. If you've ever been in a situation where someone used their sadness to control you, ask yourself today, was it real pain or real manipulation? Comment below with your thoughts, because this discussion is one every man must have to step into his power and out of silent emotional domination. 3. The illusion of choice. Manipulation is an art, and one of the most powerful techniques manipulators use is the illusion of choice. It's the deceptive tactic of offering limited options that all lead to the same desired outcome. It's a psychological game where the target is made to feel in control, while, in reality, they are being guided toward a predetermined conclusion. You've seen it before. A manager might say, "Would you prefer staying late today or coming in early tomorrow?" In that moment, you believe you're making a choice. But the reality is, either option benefits the manipulator. This trick is subtle, yet deadly, and it's everywhere. From business negotiations to sales, and even in the dynamics of parenting, manipulators thrive on making you feel empowered while pulling the strings behind the scenes. Think about it. Have you ever been in a situation where you had what you thought was a choice, but after you acted, you realized that no matter what you chose, the outcome was always in the hands of the one who set the options? That's the power of illusion. Now, let's get real. The truth is, manipulators are not interested in your true desires. They want control. This trick isn't just about controlling the decision. It's about controlling the person, making them believe they hold the power, when in fact, they're only playing into the manipulator's hand. This false sense of freedom can appear in many areas of life. Salesmen know it well. They'll present you with choices that seem like a win, but are cleverly designed to lead you to their preferred outcome. Take a moment and think. Has a car salesman ever asked, "Do you want the red one or the blue one?" You're drawn into thinking you have power, but both choices come with a price tag that's already decided for you. You never had a choice at all. This tactic plays deeply into human psychology. It taps into the need for autonomy and control. It triggers that primal desire to feel independent, to make decisions that reflect our will. And that's what makes this illusion so powerful. You think you're in charge, but the reality is that you've been steered from the beginning. Manipulators will create these choices, knowing that no matter what you choose, you'll eventually arrive at the conclusion they wanted from the start. The success of this trick lies in its subtlety. It doesn't come off as coercion or force, it comes off as a gift. But it's a gift wrapped in deception. You can't see the strings being pulled. They look invisible, but the manipulation is real, and the impact is profound. In Stoic philosophy, there's a powerful lesson about how we should face control and freedom in our lives. True freedom isn't found in the illusion of choice. It's found in mastering our reactions, our impulses, and our internal world. As Marcus Aurelius once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." In this context, it's about recognizing that true autonomy comes from within. It's about understanding the game of illusion that others play and not being swayed by it. If you are aware of the illusion, you break free from it. You see through the smoke and mirrors. Now, let's apply this lesson to your life. Whether in the boardroom, at home, or in your personal relationships, recognizing this manipulation allows you to reclaim control. The next time someone presents you with a choice that feels too easy, too convenient, pause and reflect. Ask yourself, who benefits from this decision? Is it me or is it them? This simple step of questioning can free you from falling victim to someone else's game. When you take a step back, you'll see that not all choices are truly yours to make. Manipulation by illusion doesn't just occur in high-stakes negotiations, it's present in daily life. Salespeople, marketers, and even your loved ones may use it to manipulate decisions. They create options that sound like empowerment, but in reality, they're guiding you toward a result that serves their interests, not yours. By becoming aware of this tactic, you take back your power. Recognize when you're being manipulated with false choices, and take steps to make decisions based on your true desires, not what someone else wants from you. The next time you face a choice that feels like it's being handed to you on a silver platter, remember, the illusion of choice is one of the most powerful tools in manipulation. When you begin to see the world through this lens, you'll start to notice just how often it's used to control people, especially in business and personal dynamics. You can't always change the game, but you can always change how you play it. So let me leave you with this challenge. The next time someone presents you with a decision, take a moment to reflect and ask, what do I really want? Who stands to gain from this? By doing so, you take the first step toward true freedom, one that's rooted not in false choices, but in empowered decision-making. If this message resonated with you, comment below with, I take control of my decisions, and share your experience with the illusion of choice. Let's start a conversation about how we can break free from manipulation and take charge of our lives today. 4. Reason persuasion. Dark psychology often takes advantage of the deceptively simple yet powerful tool of reason persuasion. This psychological trick plays on our innate ability to think logically and rationally, convincing us that something is a reasonable course of action, even when it is not in our best interest. Manipulators are highly adept at crafting logical, seemingly sensible arguments that sway their targets into doing what they want. The power of reason persuasion lies in its subtlety. It uses what we already consider as rationality to control us. Consider a simple scenario. 2 homeless individuals approach you for help. One simply asks for money, while the other explains, I've been hungry since yesterday and haven't had a bite to eat. Could you spare some change so I can buy some food? Which one are you more likely to help? Most people, naturally, are more inclined to help the second person. Why? Because they've provided you with a reason for their request. They've painted a picture of a dire situation, hunger, and provided a logical reason for why they need the money. This simple act of framing their request in a way that makes logical sense triggers your empathy. In your mind, it becomes easier to justify the action because it feels like the right thing to do. The first person simply asking for money doesn't provide the same logical reasoning, and so it's easier to dismiss their request. But now, let's extend this idea to a much darker and more dangerous application of reason persuasion. A criminal mastermind, looking to orchestrate a bank robbery, might approach someone who is desperate, perhaps someone who is poor, unemployed, or struggling with financial issues. They don't just tell this person, help me rob a bank. Instead, they use reason to build a narrative that convinces the individual that their plan makes perfect sense. They will explain how the robbery could solve all of the target's financial problems, paint a picture of how they won't get caught, and emphasize the ease of the plan. They will make it sound like a reasonable, even necessary decision. The manipulator might even present themselves as the source of all knowledge, emphasizing their expertise in avoiding detection, and make the target believe that they are simply taking advantage of an opportunity that would otherwise pass them by. This use of reason is incredibly powerful. The target, feeling desperate or powerless, might find it difficult to resist. The reasoning is so sound, so plausible, that it overpowers any moral hesitations or warnings they may have. It's not about using force or aggression. It's about planting a seed of logic that grows into full-blown manipulation. Over time, this reasoned explanation makes the plan seem not just acceptable, but necessary. The person who would never have dreamed of committing such an act might, under the sway of reason persuasion, become an unwitting accomplice to a serious crime. In fact, many crimes are rooted in this very form of manipulation. Behind every crime that involves a willing participant, there is often a story of persuasion, where logic, fear, and a sense of necessity collide to turn an ordinary person into a criminal. This is the danger of reason persuasion. It can be so convincing that we fail to see the manipulation behind it. It lures us in with its appeal to logic, and before we realize it, we are making decisions that we never thought we would. It's crucial to understand how powerful this tactic is, because it doesn't just apply to extreme cases like criminal activity. It can be used in everyday situations as well. Whether it's convincing someone to buy something they don't need, to make a decision that isn't in their best interest, or to go along with a plan that might be morally or ethically wrong, reason persuasion works by making the manipulator's desires seem like reasonable outcomes. So how can you protect yourself from this kind of manipulation? First, always be aware of the reasons being presented to you. Take a step back and ask yourself, is this really the best course of action, or is someone trying to manipulate me into thinking it is? Don't be afraid to question the logic behind a suggestion, especially if it feels too perfectly aligned with your own desires or weaknesses. And most importantly, recognize that reason, though powerful, is not always right. Just because something makes logical sense doesn't mean it's the right thing to do. In fact, the most dangerous manipulations often come clothed in the most logical arguments. So, next time you're faced with a decision that seems too easy or too perfectly rational, take a moment to dig deeper. Look beyond the surface and ask yourself, who benefits from this decision? And is that person really on my side? By understanding how reason persuasion works, you can protect yourself from being manipulated and ensure that your decisions are made based on your own values, not someone else's agenda. 5. Go slightly wrong. Dark psychology is a powerful tool, and the fifth trick you need to master is the subtle art of going slightly wrong. This psychological manipulation strategy is one that top manipulators have perfected because it flies under the radar, going unnoticed but always yielding results. The trick is simple, yet incredibly effective. By intentionally providing a bit of incorrect information with full confidence, you spark the target's need to correct you. In turn, they reveal more than you intended to know. This tactic is brilliantly simple. Take the example of a neighbor's aunt who, out of curiosity, uses this technique to extract information about her neighbor's child's exam results. She casually asks about the child's performance, perhaps mentioning, "I heard David topped the class," which, in reality, may not be true. But the neighbor, eager to correct this misinformation, might reveal more than just the truth, like details about David's performance compared to last time. This seemingly innocent inquiry leads to a deeper dive, and the aunt gathers not only the correct answer, but also additional insights that weren't meant to be shared. The beauty of this strategy lies in its subtlety. It's about creating a safe space for the target to engage, correcting you without realizing the exchange is one-sided. When done properly, this manipulation trick feels natural and easy, giving you the information you seek without confrontation. But there's a catch. You must be cautious. This technique only works if the other party doesn't recognize it as a manipulation tactic. If they've seen this video, your plan might backfire. So how do you execute this successfully? Start the conversation by asking innocent, seemingly harmless questions that don't raise suspicion. A slight misstep in your information prompts them to correct you, leading them to provide you with more valuable details. Manipulation, when applied with finesse, can unlock hidden truths, but it's essential to approach it with awareness and confidence. The more naturally you incorporate these psychological tricks into your interactions, the more power you'll hold over the conversation. And remember, confidence is key. Manipulators use these tactics because they know people are driven to correct information that doesn't sit right with them. As you master this trick, keep in mind that it is not just about extracting information. It's about controlling the flow of conversation and steering it in your favor. This isn't just some mind game. It's a skill set that, when applied ethically, can be used for both personal and professional gain. In fact, a famous quote by Sun Tzu comes to mind: "All warfare is based on deception." In your case, you're not waging war, but you're navigating the battlefield of social interactions with the precision of a strategist. Use this power wisely. Now, I want to hear from you. Have you ever used a form of psychological manipulation in your daily life, even unintentionally? Drop a comment below and share your thoughts. And if you found this strategy intriguing, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on more insights into dark psychology and its practical applications in your life. This technique isn't just a psychological hack, it's a step towards mastering human behavior. Whether you're negotiating, socializing, or simply navigating the complexities of daily interactions, understanding how to manipulate the flow of conversation can give you a significant edge. So, the next time you're in a discussion, remember, going slightly wrong could just be the key to unlocking the deeper layers of truth. And if you've made it this far, that already tells me something powerful about you. You're someone who's not just watching to be entertained, but someone who is ready to understand how the real world works. These 5 dark psychology tricks, whether it's the strategic use of silence, the quiet pull of dominance, or the psychological weight of presence, aren't just theories. They're tools. Tools that work. Tools that shape influence, command respect, and protect you from being manipulated. Now, if this video gave you a new way to think, helped you sharpen your awareness, or simply confirmed what you've always sensed about the power of silence and control, do me a favor. Hit that like button. Share this video with someone who's ready to elevate their mindset, and make sure you subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next. We're building a space here where the strong become stronger, not louder, just more effective. And I want you on that journey with us. Also, I want to hear from you. What did you think of today's breakdown? Did something hit home? Do you agree, disagree, or have an experience that proves the point? The comment section is yours. Don't hesitate. Whether it's a story, a thought, or even a challenge to what I said, your voice matters here. We grow through dialogue and reflection. And remember, this isn't about being cold or ruthless. It's about being wise. It's about understanding the rules of the hidden game most people don't even know they're playing. As the Stoics taught us, power isn't noise. Real power is restraint. Real control is calm. And real dominance, it doesn't need to announce itself, it's already felt. Until next time, walk like a man who knows exactly who he is. Stay aware, stay grounded, stay dangerous in silence. No contact, the dark psychology of no contact with women. Modern Stoic. Now that you've seen how silence, power, and dark psychological tactics can shift the balance of control, let's go even deeper. One of the most powerful tools in the modern Stoic's arsenal is no contact. It's not just about walking away, it's about triggering deep emotional and psychological responses in a woman's mind that make her rethink everything. Let's uncover the dark psychology behind no contact and why it always leaves a lasting impact. Let's strip away the illusions and face reality. Women don't always come back because of love. They don't suddenly wake up overwhelmed with regret or haunted by memories of your kindness and smile. The truth is far more tactical. When a woman returns, it's often because of control, not affection. Going into genuine no contact, no pretending, no waiting for the phone to ring, just completely detaching, creates a powerful shift in the dynamic. You stop chasing her. You stop feeding her ego. You become unavailable. And that, my friend, is pure psychological power. She starts to wonder, why hasn't he called? Has he moved on? Did I lose my hold on him? That fear, that nagging emptiness you leave behind, is what triggers the pull. But here's the kicker. She's not coming back for you. She's coming back for the power she lost. It's not your charm, your smile, or even your success that draws her in. It's the silence you create, the psychological wound your absence causes to her ego. Most men miss this crucial point. She'll test you. She might send a casual, "Hey stranger" text. She may call unexpectedly just to hear your voice. Or she might show up with nostalgic smiles. But don't be fooled, it's not love. It's a reconnaissance mission. She wants to know if she still holds any sway over you. If you crack, If you respond too eagerly, reveal too much, or fall back into old emotional patterns, you've handed her back the control. The power balance shifts. You start chasing again. She's back in charge. Remember, no contact isn't about winning her back. It's about regaining your dignity, your emotional clarity, and your inner strength. It's about becoming untouchable, not out of anger, but out of mastery. The Stoics understood this well. Detachment isn't about indifference. It's about mastering yourself. When you can do this, you're not just getting a woman back. You're deciding whether she's worthy of being part of your world. 1. She can't handle being replaced. One of the most psychologically triggering reasons a woman comes back after you initiate no contact is rooted not in love, but in fear, specifically, the fear of being replaced. As long as you're texting, checking in, or lurking in the shadows of her attention, she knows she still holds space in your world. But when that silence kicks in, when you disappear and go dark, something inside her begins to unravel. Suddenly, she's not just dealing with distance. She's dealing with the haunting possibility that someone else is now receiving the attention, the admiration, and the affection she once took for granted. This, for many women, is unbearable, and while she may tell herself and her friends that she's over it, that it's no big deal, or that she's already moved on, deep down a storm brews, one of doubt, of insecurity, and of emotional panic. The mere thought that you could move on so easily without her, that another woman could now be smiling at your texts or laughing at your jokes, becomes a blow to her ego, not just her heart. As Stoic wisdom teaches us, it is not things themselves that disturb us, but our judgments about them. A truth from Epictetus that explains exactly why this fear can grow into obsession. It's not your actions, but her perception of being replaced that becomes the trigger. Women, like all people, desire to feel irreplaceable, to believe that their presence in someone's life is unique and unmatched. So when your silence suggests you've filled that emotional space for someone new, it ignites something ancient within her, a competitive drive, a need to prove her worth again, a deep psychological urge to reclaim her place in your life. It's not always about wanting you back. Sometimes it's about needing to know she could still have you if she wanted. This is why she may suddenly reach out, react to an old post, or start showing up in subtle ways. She's checking if the door is still open, if her presence still matters, if she hasn't been replaced by someone better. And here's where your discipline becomes power. So remain silent, remain composed, and remain grounded. The Stoic man does not chase validation. He lets others reveal themselves in the silence. Remember, as Marcus Aurelius once said, the best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury. In this case, your best move is not to retaliate emotionally or to play mind games, but simply to live well, grow stronger, and let her face the reality that you are no longer dependent on her presence. So to all the men watching this, ask yourself, are you holding on out of genuine love, or are you afraid of letting go? Because the moment she realizes you're no longer afraid to lose her, she becomes afraid of losing you. What do you think about this psychological truth? Have you seen this dynamic play out in your life? Share your thoughts in the comments. Your experience might be the exact insight another man needs today. 2. You stop chasing, and it drives her crazy. There's a hidden power that few men understand, yet those who do find themselves in total control of the emotional chessboard, and it begins the moment you stop chasing her. You see, many women are conditioned, consciously or unconsciously, to find validation in being pursued. Each call, each text, each compliment you gave her wasn't just a message. It was a signal that she held space in your world, that she was central to your emotional universe. But when you go silent, when you withdraw that energy, it sends a shockwave through the dynamic she thought was secure. You flipped the script, and in doing so, you awaken a psychological tension that can be both disturbing and magnetic to her. She's no longer sure where she stands. That confusion? That's where your power begins to grow. Your absence becomes louder than your presence ever was. Think about it. While you were constantly available, you were like background noise, always there, always comforting, but easily ignored. Now that you're gone, the silence becomes unbearable. That attention you used to give wasn't just affection, it was her emotional safety net. And when that net disappears, she starts to fall into uncertainty. That emotional vacuum you've created begins to echo in her mind, and the more it echoes, the more she realizes what she's missing. It's not just about ego, it's about human psychology. We often don't recognize the value of something until it's gone, and your withdrawal forces her to confront that loss in real time. Here's where Stoic wisdom comes into play. The Stoics taught that the man who masters himself becomes untouchable. When you stop chasing, you're not being petty, you're practicing emotional discipline, you're reclaiming your power. In modern life, this isn't about playing games, it's about shifting the balance of energy. When you stop pursuing, you're no longer the one on the defensive. You're not reacting, you're observing, you're calm, and you're in control. Suddenly, she is the one wondering, who is he chasing now? Has he moved on? Did I lose him for good? Those questions start to gnaw at her, creating a storm of insecurity she never saw coming. Think about the story of James and Emily. James, like many men, believed that consistent effort would win her heart. He called, texted, planned everything. He made her feel adored. But Emily, wrapped in the comfort of always being wanted, never truly reciprocated. She assumed James would always be there. Until one day, James simply stopped. No more texts, no more likes, no more sweet words. At first, Emily barely noticed. She thought it was a phase. But as days turned to weeks and her notifications stayed silent, anxiety set in. She started checking her phone, wondering what changed. Was he seeing someone else? Was she no longer special? That mystery ate away at her, and in a moment of vulnerability, she reached out, with a casual excuse, of course, just to feel that attention again. But for James, this wasn't a trick or a tactic. This was transformation. He had realized his worth wasn't tied to being constantly available. He understood that real value is never in the chase. It's in presence, restraint, and self-respect. And Emily, in that moment, saw it too. This is the core of the no-contact rule, not to manipulate, but to wake her up to the value of what she once overlooked. In today's world, where attention is cheap and instant gratification is everywhere, the man who withdraws his energy becomes a mystery, and mystery is magnetism. By stepping back, you reframe the entire story. You're no longer the man who needs her validation. You are the man she now craves to understand. Use this wisely. Don't chase. Let her feel the silence. Let her sit with the questions. And let that space work for you. Because in that quiet space, she will either realize your worth or make room for someone better to recognize it. And if you find today's content very interesting, please give me a word of encouragement by commenting "very interesting" in the comments section. That is a huge motivation for us. Thank you. 3. She misses the power she had over you. When a woman no longer has power over your emotions, your time, or your attention, something very primal shifts inside her. You see, many men don't realize that what often fuels a woman's emotional security in a relationship isn't just love. It's the sense of influence she feels over the man she's with. That influence can be subtle, like how often you text her, how quickly you reply, or how eager you are to please her, but it's real. When she knows she can pull your strings, she feels powerful. She knows she's the sun in your sky. But when you pull away and go silent, when you invoke the Stoic strategy of no contact, the entire dynamic is flipped upside down. Suddenly, she's no longer in control. And this doesn't just confuse her, it destabilizes her. She's now sitting in the void you used to fill, wondering if you've moved on, who you're talking to, and why her usual tactics don't work anymore. This is the dark psychology of no contact. It forces her to confront the truth that her influence is gone. She is no longer the queen of your emotional world. As Marcus Aurelius once said, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. That's exactly what you're doing by going silent, taking your power back. And make no mistake, she will notice. At first, she may enjoy the space, mistaking it for a game she's winning. But as the silence grows, so does her uncertainty. She starts asking herself the questions she used to expect you to ask. Does he miss me? Is he thinking about me? Has he moved on? And just like that, the tables turn. But here's the kicker. If she reaches out, don't be fooled into thinking it's always about genuine emotion. Sometimes it's just her testing the waters to see if she can still control the temperature. She doesn't miss you. She misses the power she had over you. Take the real-life story of Mark and Sarah. Mark used to be all in, texting Sarah, planning dates, showing her constant affection. Sarah grew accustomed to it and stopped putting in effort. Mark chased, while Sarah leaned back. But then Mark stopped. He vanished from her inbox, her call log, her radar. At first, Sarah shrugged it off, thinking he'd come back like he always did. But days turned into weeks. Then came the silence. And in that silence, Sarah felt the power vacuum. When she finally reached out, it wasn't to say, "I miss you." It was to check if she still had that invisible leash around his neck. That, my friend, is where the wisdom of Stoicism separates boys from men. The high-value Stoic man does not chase. He does not beg. He simply withdraws, because he understands that true power lies in what you choose not to react to. As Epictetus wisely said, "Freedom is the only worthy goal in life. It is won by disregarding things that lie beyond our control. And your emotional reactions to someone who disrespected your value, that lies completely in your control. So if you're going through this right now, if you're wondering whether to reach out, to explain, to clarify, don't. Embrace the silence. Let her feel the loss. Let her miss the emotional validation she once took for granted. And most importantly, use this time to rebuild yourself. Because this isn't just about her anymore. It's about becoming the kind of man who cannot be manipulated by affection, attention, or temporary validation. That's the Stoic edge. That's the dark psychology of no contact, not to hurt her, but to liberate yourself. 4. No contact makes her feel like she's losing control. When you go no contact, you don't just go silent. You disrupt her entire psychological framework. You break the pattern she's grown used to, the one that gave her certainty, the one that made her feel secure in her position over you. Control for her isn't about obvious domination. It's about knowing, predictability, patterns. When you always text good morning, when you instantly reply, when she can predict your next move, she feels in charge, even if she doesn't say it out loud. It's the illusion of emotional control. And when you cut communication, that illusion burns to the ground. Suddenly, her emotional compass spins. She doesn't know where you are mentally, emotionally, spiritually. The silence is loud. It forces her to ask herself questions she never had to ask before. Is he gone? Has he moved on? Did I push too far? Does he even care anymore? These questions aren't random. They are psychological chaos unleashed by your silence. What you're doing isn't just pulling back, you're changing the rules of the entire game. She's not used to that. She's used to being the one who sets the tempo, who gets the last word, who decides when the door is open or shut. But now, the door has disappeared. You've become a mystery, and that, my brother, is power. As long as you were predictable, she never had to worry. You were the open book, the safety net, the emotional insurance. But the moment you went quiet, you became unpredictable. And in human psychology, unpredictability creates urgency. It activates desire. That's not manipulation. That's how the human mind works. As Robert Greene said in The Art of Seduction, absence increases respect and honor. When you're always present, you're taken for granted. But when you remove your presence, you create scarcity. And scarcity, my friend, is value. Now she's the one wondering. Now she's the one chasing. Because now the emotional scales have tipped. She's no longer in the driver's seat, you are. That shift triggers not just emotional panic, but also ego disruption. She's not just wondering if you care. She's trying to figure out how she lost the grip, and that eats away at pride. Because here's the truth. No one likes to feel like they've lost control over someone who used to orbit around them. But the moment you stopped orbiting, you became your own planet. You became the sun. And let me tell you something real. When you step away in silence, you speak louder than any words ever could. You are saying, I no longer operate by your rules. I don't need validation. I'm not here to be controlled. I'm here to lead. That is old Stoic wisdom in action. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Brother, the no-contact rule isn't just a strategy, it's a declaration. A declaration that you no longer need to explain yourself. You don't need closure. You are the closure. And the irony? She doesn't want to chase, but she has to, because the silence doesn't just leave a void. It tells her something terrifying. She's no longer the center of your world. And whether she admits it or not, she'll want that power back. She'll feel the pull to reconnect, just to reclaim that sense of control. But here's your job. Don't hand it back. Keep your frame. Stay solid. Stay unmoved. Because the man who can remain silent in chaos is the man who holds all the power. If you've made it this far, you're already ahead of the game. Most men can't break free from the patterns that trap them in cycles of predictability. But you've learned the power of silence, the power of unpredictability. Now, I want to hear from you. Comment below. I am no longer bound by her rules. Let's engage and take control of our own destiny. Thanks for watching, my friend. If you found this helpful, be sure to like, share, and subscribe for more Stoic wisdom. Remember, real love isn't about ego. When she comes back, it's often a test, not genuine affection. Stay grounded, hold your peace, and choose strength over validation. Don't let your focus be disrupted. Have you experienced this? Drop your story in the comments below. Let's learn from each other. The real question isn't if she'll return, it's if you'll let her back in. Stay firm, stay focused, and remember, you control the outcome. Catch you in the next one. Stay strong.